We all know the feeling. I'm so hungry and I don't know what to cook. Everything takes so long. Cooking can be really difficult, especially when you don't feel like doing it or you don't have enough time. But don't worry, today we're gonna go through a recipe that you can do quickly, easily, and it's cheap. What are we gonna make? Grilled cheese. Hey guys, welcome to Adulting with Esther, the channel where we talk about the things that you don't learn in school. I'm your host, Esther, and today we're gonna be talking about how you can make a quick, easy, and cheap meal when you don't have a lot of time. We're gonna be making grilled cheese. We're gonna talk about some hacks that you can use to hopefully make this process a little bit quicker, some of the things that I do, and things you can substitute if you don't have the tools you need. And then at the end, we're going to look at some different ways that you can enhance your grilled cheese if you decide to take a little bit more than 10 minutes. Before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button down below. It makes us come up higher in the search engine so more people can find this video. And if you like this content and you wanna see more like it, press that subscribe button down below and hit the alarm button when you're done with that. That way you get alerted every time that Adulting with Esther makes a new video on Tuesdays. First thing we need to look at is the tools you're gonna need to make grilled cheese. If you're in college right now, chances are you don't have your own isolated kitchen, so you're gonna need to check that one out in the dorm room floor. You're gonna need some sort of knife. A butter knife works good. This is gonna be used for butter. You'll also need a bigger knife, like a butcher knife or, something sharp. If you don't have this one will do fine, but you're gonna be hacking at it a little bit more. You're also gonna need some sort of spatula. This is gonna be for the purpose of flipping your grilled cheese. Again, if you don't have this, you could use your hands, but you're at risk of burning your fingers. You'll need some sort of skillet. Now, I prefer cast iron, but nonstick skillets work great too. But my mom did tell me that nonstick coating can give you cancer, so you do you, boo-boo. Let's talk about the ingredients you're gonna need to make the quickest grilled cheese ever. First thing you're gonna need is some bread. Choose the type of bread that works for you and what you have. A way that I like to keep my bread fresh from getting moldy, because when I was in college, I didn't go through a loaf of bread very quickly. Put it in your freezer. Bread in your refrigerator is actually going to make it kind of stale, but if you put it in your freezer, it'll preserve its lifespan and make it taste fresher longer. You're gonna need some butter, but if you don't have butter, you could use olive oil. It doesn't taste as good. Or you could use mayonnaise, which some people have debates about whether it tastes better or not. And butter is another thing that you can keep in your freezer to preserve its shelf life. Now, your butter, if you can bring it to room temperature beforehand, that's great, but remember, we're short on time here, so don't freak out if you don't do that. Cold butter will do fine. Something else you're gonna need is cheese. I'm not picky about what cheese goes in my grilled cheese, but you can use what works for you. I think the best is cheddar, but I don't have that in my fridge today, so I'm doing what works for me. I wouldn't advise using pre-shredded cheese. The reason is they put some sort of coating on it, like cornstarch or flour, to keep the cheese from sticking together. If you put that in your grilled cheese sandwich, it doesn't always melt as well. So you typically end up burning the crispy outside of your grilled cheese sandwich before the cheese actually melts, which is a loss for everybody. And lastly, I like to add some salt to mine. Let's see what we can do. First thing we need to do is bring this pan over to the oven and get it set to medium-high heat. I prefer medium if you've got gas. If you're cooking with electric, do medium-high. While the pan's heating up, we're gonna go ahead and start doing the prep work on our grilled cheese. First thing we need to do is cut up our cheese into slices. Aim for about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 inch thick. You want enough slices of cheese to be able to cover your piece of bread evenly. If you have any gaps in your cheese, then you're going to have gaps in your cheese in your sandwich. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna butter our bread. You only need to butter one side of your bread because the inside that doesn't have butter on it is going to be where all your cheese goes. Now here's what I use the salt for. I like to put it in the pan beforehand. I told you I like salted butter. I just like to sprinkle a little bit of salt in there and it kind of enhances the cheesy flavor. If you've got a mild cheese like I do today with the Monterey Jack, I'm gonna need something to give it a little oomph. You can also add cayenne pepper if you're feeling really crazy to have a spicy grilled cheese. Now this is the easy part, just putting it in the pan and cooking it. Take your bread, hear that sound? Now if you saw how my butter was like kind of chunky earlier, here's the secret. You just kind of want to move the bread around in the pan and it'll get all the butter on it. And you didn't have to worry about softening up your butter. Now you gotta work fast. Take your cheese and layer it on as systematically as possible. Kind of looks like little piano keys. It looks like I used 6 pieces. And now take my other piece, put it on top. Here's a hack I didn't tell you about. If you want to grab a lid to this pan and put it on top, it will ensure that your heat stays in the pan so the grilled cheese gets crispy and the cheese melts. That's the hardest part with grilled cheese, is you want your cheese to melt. We're gonna leave that lid on there for about 30 seconds, not long. There's that timer. Now, the cheese isn't melted all the way, that's okay. Give it a flip, you gotta be brave. Woo! Looking good, looking good. If one side's grilled a little bit more than the other, not a big deal, just kind of rotate it so that part is over the flame later. Put your lid back on, hope for the best. Another hack, you might be noticing that the lid on your pot's getting kind of steamy. That's a good thing. Steam is heat. What you can do is actually sprinkle a little bit of extra water in there, and it makes more steam and then makes the cheese melt faster. I'm gonna do that right now. This is a totally optional step. I just have a tendency of not melting my cheese all the way and burning the outsides. It'll steam and sizzle a little bit. I put that lid on. I'm actually gonna turn my burner off, because right now my goal is just for it to get heated on the inside and melt that cheese. I'm no longer worried about the outside being grilled. I know that that's already crispy golden brown. I'm gonna give it about 10 more seconds. Here we go. Look at that. Nice and delicious. Turn your pan off. Put it in the sink so you don't have to wash it later. Last thing we're gonna do is we're gonna give it a chop. This is where I told you that big knife comes into play. If you don't have a big knife, you can use your butter knife and it'll be just fine. If you're a person who's picky about your crust, now is the time to chop it off. Now, one of my friends in college told me, you gotta cut it diagonally so you're cutting it with love. And look how, Well, this is an endorsement for Monterey Jack cheese. This is like absolutely delicious. You can always use the sliced cheese if you want, it's fine. One thing my mommy told me is that you know it's real cheese when it does the ooey gooey pull. I prefer real cheese. If you prefer the processed cheese, that's fine too, do you. We just made a grilled cheese sandwich in less than 10 minutes. I don't know about you, but I feel like that's a major victory. If you're feeling great and you got value out of this video so far, go ahead and hit that like button. So I promised you I'd share with you some other ways that you can enhance your grilled cheese sandwiches. Let me tell you about those. If you want to make your grilled cheese a little bit fancier, there's some things that you can layer in addition to switching up your cheeses or doing multiple cheeses. So exciting. Things that you could add in would be some onions. I prefer red onion. My favorite way to do it is to saute them in the pan a little bit to make them nice and ooey and gooey. But if you don't have time for that, raw onions are fine too. But if you don't have time for that either, you could always use a green onion instead. They're easier to cut and they're more mild, so maybe that just seems like a win in all cases. The other option, you could use tomatoes. Thinly slice your tomatoes and layer them between your cheeses. You're gonna need a little extra cheese because tomato doesn't naturally stick to bread. The other option you can do is add in some ham or bacon if that's an option for you. When you're putting proteins in your grilled cheese sandwich, you need to make sure that you cook them before. We're only gonna have them in the pan as a grilled cheese for like, what did we do? A minute, 2 minutes? Your meat will not cook all the way, and no one wants to eat raw bacon or ham. That'd be kind of yucky, wouldn't it? If you have other ways that you enjoy making grilled cheese sandwiches or other add-ins, I'd love to know more about that. Let me know down in the comments how you enjoy your grilled cheese sandwiches, what cheeses you use, and what other add-ins you use. With grilled cheese, there's two really easy, straightforward ways to turn them into a full meal that you can enjoy and even give to your friends or family and say, hey, look at me, I'm an adult and I made this in 5 minutes. You can include tomato soup. Use the canned stuff. If you want to buy the fancy tomato soup, that's fine, or make your own too. But again, we're going for time and efficiency here. The other option is you could add a side salad. Get a bag of spring lettuce and put some dressing on it and maybe a little bit of onion or tomato, and you have a full meal ready to go. Another really neat feature of grilled cheese is that it's an easy appetizer too if you're trying to entertain your friends or your parents are coming to visit. Go ahead and grill up your grilled cheese like we just did, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on how many people are coming, and get some tomato soup. Put your tomato soup in cute little cups like these guys, and then cut your grilled cheese into quarters and then cut those into tiny little pieces, kind of like the fancy cucumber sandwiches you see on TV. You'll probably want to cut your crust off here and use a larger bread if you're doing this, but you know, just basically cut your cheese cut your cheese. Don't cut the cheese. And you'll just want to cut your grilled cheese into smaller pieces so that they're dunkable. And you could serve them either on a platter with the cups separately, or you could put all the little grilled cheese sandwiches into your cups. And wow, look at you, a fully functioning adult that made cute little grilled cheese sandwiches that cost you less than $10 if you didn't make a ton of them, and they tasted good. Sounds like you just got adulting down packed. One thing for me as an adult is I don't love doing things that I don't enjoy. And when I'm hungry and sad and sitting on the floor in front of the kitchen, cooking is not something I want to do. I'd rather spend time with the people I love doing the things I enjoy. And now, by cooking a quick 5-minute meal, I'm able to do that. All right, guys, thank you so much for cooking with me today. I had a wonderful time. If you enjoyed it too and got value out of this video, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button too. I can't wait to see what you do with your grilled cheese sandwiches, and share them with me on Instagram so I can see too. Let's have a cheesy peasy party. Cheesy party. Ooh. You should really have some of this. You want some?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, take it. I want it to be. I will go on record for saying that I think butter is the best. Ooh. Freezer to produce. And butter's cut your. Basically,